Speaking of black sheep of the family that deserve to be 6 feet under, Kronos has to be one of the most misunderstood or confused deities I've seen across various worlds. He goes from rock lava monster in Clash of the Titans to rock monster in Percy Jackson to this. Unfortunately, this one is the most egregious when it comes to misrepresenting Kronos. While I'm not saying the guy doesn't have some connection to time, him controlling time?
No. You do not control the flow of time. Not here.
No.
So let's get into it, and I'll explain why this version of Kronos is more accurate than this one. Though, to be fair, the version from Blood of Zeus, despite how stupid he is in terms of philosophy, is still far more accurate than the ones already listed so far. So, first off, we need a baseline understanding of who this jackass actually is. In mythology, there are 2 Kronoses, and over time, they've been conflated into one, merged in a way that gives us this abomination that fundamentally misunderstands who Kronos is. So, who are the 2 Kronos? The first is Kronos, the older of the 2. He is the primordial of time itself, a callous old man with a thick gray beard who inspired the image of Father Time in later societies. In the Orphic tradition, Kronos was the first primordial, with Aether, light, and chaos, darkness, being his children, along with an egg. From this egg came the hermaphroditic god Phanes, who gave birth to the first generation of gods and is considered the ultimate creator of the cosmos. In the later variations, Kronos is the child of Chaos and Menenki, the primordial of destiny. Yes, I know that that's a weird pairing, but the Orphics were some next level stuff, to be fair. The second Kronos, the one we're talking about today, was the second Titan king who overthrew his brother Ophion, the original ruler of the heavens, who was later cast into the deep ocean along with his consort. This Kronos was the youngest of the Titans, and is best known for being depicted with a scythe, a sickle, or a harpe, which is how he eventually got acquainted with the primordial of time and that whole Father Time image. Now, his sphere of influence is actually interesting because time is there, technically. So if that's the case, why am I saying this version of him is an abomination? It's because you have to look at the whole sphere to understand the nuance. This second Kronos has another part of his domain, that of the harvest, and this actually gives us insight into what kind of time aspect he represents: winnowing, molecular decay, or senescence, if you will. This makes sense. He represents the destructive nature of time, how it wears things down, how it erodes and corrupts, how it brings things to an end. As where the primordial Kronos is all-devouring and endless, the Titan Kronos is about what time ruins. And this is exactly why the ability to control time, as often portrayed, makes no sense. Even in the very myths people use to justify giving him that power, the logic just falls apart. When Kronos heard of the prophecy that his children would rise against him, he began devouring them after they were born. But why? Because he believed that storing them inside his stomach would trap them for eternity, but they were immortal. He believed they couldn't escape. Later on, Zeus, with the help of Metis, the Titaness of wisdom, freed his siblings, who emerged fully grown and ready to fight, not unlike Athena when she emerged from Zeus's head. Now, think about that for a second. If Kronos had the ability to control time, like is shown here,
Your power is formidable, but no.
then why wouldn't he just reverse cause and effect to put them back inside his stomach? Problem solved. One might argue that the ancient Greeks didn't have a concept of rewinding time, and on the surface, that would be fair. But digging deeper, nope. There's a tale where, when Zeus was still a baby, Rhea had a golden dog made to protect him. The one who made it? Hephaestus. Yeah. The god of the forge built a robotic dog in the myth where Tantalus and another guy eventually stole it. So either the Greeks had some god tier weed, or they did have some flexible ideas about time, tech, and causality. Regardless, the point stands, Kronos doesn't control time. The fact that his kids grew into full adults inside his body shows that contradiction. The fact that he had a 10-year war against the younger gods and lost is hilarious if he had supposedly time warping powers. Kronos is a powerful titan. He was also a brutal tyrant. But looking across how he's been depicted in various worlds, especially when comparing sources, it becomes increasingly clear that this is more accurate than this.
No.
Because where Kronos destroys and winnows, the primordial breaks down all and eventually restarts anew. They aren't the same being, no matter how much layered traditions conflate them, but they do share a role in the cyclical nature of decay and rebirth. And that's why Kronos lost to his children to begin with. The aspect of time he governs is not something immortals fear. Winnowing, senescence, molecular decay. What does that mean to a god who can't die? Who doesn't age unless they choose to? Whose power and existence are by definition infinite? Which leads us to one last question. If the Olympians are immortal, ageless, and infinitely powerful, then why do they need human worship to survive? Now that is a question for another time. Stay safe and have a good day.